AGREA is a small research group within the MIT Energy Initiative, and the acronym AGREA stands for the Analysis Group for Regional Energy Alternatives. And we actually date back to the late 1980s when there was a stalemate in power plant investments in New England. And so the genesis of AGREA was essentially to bring together the stakeholders in state government, in the electric utilities, in the consumer environmental groups, to essentially see if they could agree at least on a rough vision of what to do, because back in the late 80s, and this is true today as well, the principal argument that was stopping things from happening was essentially my power plant versus your light bulb, new generation versus electricity conservation. And so by bringing these folks together and doing a lot of scenario analysis, essentially joint fact-finding for this multi-stakeholder group, we're able to identify some key issues that were being overlooked because essentially new technology is better than old technology, so new power plants are better than old power plants. New light bulbs are better than old light bulbs. And it was really critical because it got everybody thinking about the cost-effective, environmentally responsible evolution of the power sector, the electricity infrastructure, not just different people's favorite technology. So who benefits from our research? Well, we design it so it's a large benefit to a lot of different stakeholders. In fact, AGREA started as essentially providing common knowledge to a group of people whose job in some respects was to not agree. And that was, sort of environmental advocates are not supposed to get along with utility guys, and the regulators are supposed to keep them both in check. And so you're not going to have a kumbaya moment with these guys. And so you're trying to but we still only have one industry. So it's sort of, how do I design the industry, how do I design the scenarios to meet the interests and needs and goals and challenges and uncertainties of the collective group of stakeholders. And then within those scenarios, there are aspects or nuggets of insight that is of benefit to the utilities and the other kind of stakeholders. One example was when we were looking at this competition between new power plants and energy efficiency, new light bulbs, is that we found if we did too much energy efficiency, then we didn't modernize the generation. And so you ended up using less electricity, but it tended to be dirtier kilowatt hours because it was an older generation of power plants. And so it was really this coevolution, efficiency on both supply and demand, which was the key insight there. And then there was some other refinements in terms of which new technologies on both the supply and demand side was best for New England in this particular project. My research is housed within the MIT Energy Initiative, and that's essentially an evolving multidisciplinary lab. So it originated in 1972 as the Energy Laboratory. It then became the Laboratory for Energy and the Environment. It was a big lab, but former MIT President Susan Hockfield in her inauguration said, this is an area where MIT needs to lead, and essentially upgraded us from a lab to an initiative. And essentially the MIT Energy Initiative is the clearinghouse for energy research within MIT. I do the planning and sort of integration stuff, but there's very cool stuff on basic science applied to solar energy, science in chemical and engineering processes applied to novel sources or of future fuels, and of course the environmental and economic aspects of these different developments, both basic science and applied science. The future is very uncertain, and so one of the things that we do in our research is not just look at individual technologies or simple portfolios of technologies, but how they play out over time, because we're looking for cost-effective and environmentally responsible solutions, But the future is very uncertain, both in terms of growth of the economy, growth in energy demand, the potential impacts on system operations, or just how much air conditioning we need in the future as we adapt to climate change. And so it's very complex in that there's lots of day-to-day challenges and dynamics, but lots of long-term challenges. And of course, the output of our research is essentially a deployment path for technologies taking into account that we need a robust and resilient system, not just a cost-effective and lower emission system that, as we go into the future.